remix command?
No, I did not.
Do you
Well,
want
I
me
mean,
to go
yes.
do
I mean,
that?
so we're live
Oh, okay.
here, and then I'm waiting for it to come through here. So, on that page, on that tutorial
Hmm.
page, at the very top, I did the setup command. They have npx create remix at latest dash dash template remix run remix template remix tutorial.
Oh, okay, cool.
That whole thing that pulls down the larger template file that they then start walking through. So I think we just start at the top of that thing.
Cool. Okay.
It's well written.
Are
It's understandable.
we
The
live?
docs. Uh, let's see. We are going live right now. Oh no, something went wrong. Refresh the page.
Oh no.
Don't do this to me. No, no, no. Oh, okay. We are live. There we are. Okay. It's like something went wrong, and then you refresh, and everything is just working perfectly.
Something went wrong. You didn't refresh.
uh, okay. Yeah, we're live. Absolutely. Right about on time too.
Beautiful. Hello, everybody.
Welcome back to Upskill and Chill. How you doing, Courtney? How's it going today?
I'm doing well. Oh, I'm doing well. Yeah. I started playing around with Supabase this week.
Ooh, cool.
Yes, yes. Um, Out of the box, it is a Postgres database, and it's actually pretty. It's different. I'm so used to like handling everything with the database in the code itself, and Supabase definitely abstracts that. So, like for instance, building the models for data, um, and like setting certain configuration and such. You do that like on their platform, and then you just
Oh,
access it from whatever it is you're accessing it from.
interesting.
Um, and I don't know, I haven't gotten deep enough in to know if there is a way to do like the config straight from your application, but I don't know. I kind of like it so far. It's working. I'm able to insert things into the database and then query it. But it's very different, and so they have a whole bunch of services like authentication and such as
Mhm.
well. So, kind of eager to test that out and see what it looks like. But always fun diving into a new tech. Foreshadow, foreshadow.
Speaking of which, yeah.
How about you? What's happening?
Today has this week has felt like a really long week, so I'm very happy to be here. It's just been busy with bunches of stuff to do on my end. So uh, I'm excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this since we decided last week that we were going to dive into the remix framework this week, and
Remix.
so I've been very excited for that. And then I kind of dug into the docs in a tutorial this morning as we were discussing before we went live. So I have a little bit of understanding on the framework as it stands, but still have more to go. So I don't
And
have any
I,
music to share,
yeah, I don't have any music today either.
maybe just dive right
I
in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was just telling Spencer before we went live. I did I did very little, as in zero prep work for today, which means that I'm like a remix baby. I just I'm just coming into this world fresh. You could imprint whatever ideas about remix you want on me right now, and I'll be open to it. So with that said, I think I'm gonna take control of the reins here. Is this screen? Here we go.
Yeah.
Do you see me? Yes.
Yes.
Beautiful. So where I'm at right now is the remix tutorial page, um, which Spencer tells me is quite nice to look at. So far, so good. I like how sleek and everything the interface looks. And I think we're gonna generate a new project off of the command that they list. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy that. Already got my terminal open with a remix folder, and I think I'm just gonna run this command and see what happens. Yep, that's okay with me. We will proceed.
So basically, before we got going live, the conversation that happened was Courtney saying that he had not looked into anything yet. Me saying that I got about halfway or so through this tutorial earlier today, and don't feel like I have the ability to just start leading us through a fresh application in a brand new framework. So we're going to do the upskill and chill thing, and we're just going to learn, right? So I've already learned some of
Yeah.
this. I've done a little bit of the
This isn't.
tutorial.
This is just a test, right? So I don't need to start a repo. I think we talked about that already.
Yeah, you know, I did, but you don't have to.
I'm
It's
gonna
just
go
gonna
now.
be some files, yeah.
Yep. We'll
The
use
the whole
npm.
thing works. This part of the process of walking through the new program is pretty nice new project. But yeah, as I was saying, uh, I've gotten some information about the framework. The tutorial says that it's about 30 minutes. I was working on it for probably about 2 hours, and the reason that and I'm still not done. And the reason for that is because I kept coming to these points of like, okay, I want to understand that more. So then I went further into their docs to look at specifics and read about like how is this working, what is this actually doing, um, and just looking up a whole bunch of stuff. So I was definitely taking it much slower just to try and gain more understanding. And so far I'm a fan. I can see some real benefits here.
Let's
But
take a look around at
yeah,
what starts here. So we got our node modules. That's fine. Public. We got our favicon in there. It looks like they're using Vite to configure. Very cool. Very cool. Done that only once before myself. They set up
Vite
your
fat.
TypeScript config. So TypeScript is default then in Remix.
Yep,
Is that right?
yep,
Very
I think
cool.
so.
Very cool. As it should be. As
As it
a
should be.
TypeScript evangelist, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
And dependencies, what do we have? So we have some remix dependencies, match sorter, React DOM. Interesting, interesting, interesting.
We'll get to this tiny invariant on line 22 there. That little package that popped
Yeah.
up in the tutorial. I hadn't seen that before. I like it already. Like I'm going to start using that for sure.
What's it do?
It's basically just checking if something exists. Like it's definitely more sophisticated than this, but it checks
Mm.
to see if something you're pulling into some of the server side actions like exists or not, and then gives you
Uh,
an ability to give a error message if it doesn't. And it's like a one line function call with two arguments, the thing you want to check and the message you want to display. And then um, so one, it handles that error, but also the thing I noticed in TypeScript is that uh, if you don't have it, you know how sometimes you'll get that like type string or null or undefined cannot be assigned to type string, right? Because it's
yes,
expecting
totally.
just a string, but you're bringing in this variable and TypeScript doesn't know if it will be defined or not. So then you have to go if not that, then whatever. You have to make some sort of like an if statement to check that ahead of time at the top of that function. This one liner like satisfies that.
Oh,
Plus,
one
it does
line
the
you'd
error
say.
handling because then if it doesn't pop up properly, it gives you an error message. So it's checking the validity of the type of the variable, but then also doing a like console log for you all in one function line. It's pretty sweet. That's not
That
remix
is sweet.
specific, but it was a cool little. It's a just a new library you learn about. That's like, well, that makes that nice and easy.
That's very exciting.
I mean,
I've
that's
like the more of these projects I do, the more interested I am in kind of just like going through everything that's in the default and just figuring out like what does this do? What is this? What is this part of? Like I've never really looked into linter settings and such. That's probably a whole nother field. But with that said, let's take a look here. So what are we looking at? So here's our root.tsx.
yep. So this is our root
I suppose
route, right? This is the root of
this is
the.
just a slash,
This
basically.
is slash,
Okay, let's run the dev and see what happens here.
and
Okay,
it's ready to go. In that
this is
fast,
ready. Oh, that's
it's
already a
ready.
good start. I like
Yeah,
that.
Vite is so nice.
Oh, is it not localhost? Oh, it's
It's
five one
five.
seven three.
Yeah, they decided to be unique.
Very unique. Oh, okay, yeah.
So they're gonna start. if we go through the tutorial, the first thing they do is like bring in the styles to make it
I
look a little
see.
prettier and stuff, and that kind of teaches all these things. So yeah.
The root. Okay, so adding style sheets with links. Okay, so there are multiple ways to style your Remix app. We're going to use a plain style sheet that's already been written to keep things focused on Remix. Love that for us. Let's
And
do,
then this is what you do.
just copy this. Oh, I guess I can just
There's going to
do
be
this
some
again.
existing things too in the.
This-
So that's in root. Yep, up at the. Yep.
Okay. It's already updated. That's nice.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Look at that. The experience. It's so great.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, need to be back here. Okay. It's funny, in my boot camp, it was the same. It was like, we spent some time on styling as a subject, but generally speaking, when we were building apps, they had styling figured out in the like modules. And so we could focus more on like logic and things like that,
Uh-huh.
building components and such, which
Yeah.
was nice because you can get bogged down in styling for sure.
Oh, absolutely. That's like somebody's full-time job. So up there in the code you added, I still need to maybe fully understand this, but like so the app style href is what you're bringing in, and then we have this links function, which is a type. So
That's a type, yeah.
this export const links is a particular item, and then this links this can be multiple different types of things. So then you have an array of objects, and each of those objects they mention it further down here, or maybe it was in the docs. I can't remember which one. That this isn't just styling sheets, but you can bring links to different. I think it's links to any like asset. Like it can be an asset within your data within your project, or it can be like an href off to another asset that you're bringing in. Um, to fully understand, I need to look into this like links idea a little bit more. This links function, but
Hmm.
Um, so every route, yeah, right, it says right there, every route can export a links function. They will be collected and rendered into the link component we rendered in app.root.
The link
The
component
links,
in app.
it's
Oh,
links,
links.
links right
This
there.
one
So
looks
it's
like.
in the
Okay.
head. It's in the head of the HTML, right? So this
Right,
is where
which is,
you would put your like your style sheet links, or if you're
yeah.
bringing in like a script. Although I think they do that down below in scripts tag at the very bottom, which is
Oh, they
scripts.
certainly do. Oh,
I
very
imagine that's
cool.
where that you would bring in any third party scripts that way. So
This is just a fake database. Got it. Okay.
yes.
Okay. Very, very
So
nice.
with
Very sleek so far. And actually, one thing I like about this is that it sort of fits. Sorry. It's like componentized the traditional, like vanilla HTML, CSS, JavaScript way of building a website. It's not so abstracted, which is pretty cool.
yeah,
I mean, this used to
I
be
think
where we had to put the meta and the links,
right.
and then scripts. I guess could go above or below, but there, I think because of how, I guess below makes more sense. I'm not. I can't remember why. There's a reason. It's
Yeah,
like
you put it.
it renders in order or something like that.
Yeah, so you put your script imports at the bottom so that the because it reads top to bottom. So the page you land on, you want that to load in and be loaded visible as fast as possible. And then once that's done and the user has something to look at, then the scripts are going to load in the
There's like
background. If
isn't
you
there a
put that at
tag
the
like
top, then it goes the other way around. And it'll
wasn't
delay
there like a
first render.
defer tag or something like
Yes.
that too
So
that
that's
you could use?
yep.
Yeah.
If you
Okay.
put it up in the head, I don't I don't know if it works on their scripts component here, but if
Mm-hmm.
you did like a
Probably not.
script tag in the head, you could just say defer and it does the same thing. But
And I guess
the
important to mention, this is still built off of React. So this is like yet another framework building off the React library.
yes, we're using React. Um, the thing that I find interesting, and we're going to see more of this as we're going along, is that they really, I mean, I didn't fully understand it when I read it the first time, I did a little bit of like cursory research as to like what Remix is and people's comments about it. But Remix is a framework that's built on top of web standards. Next is like its own thing. It creates and abstracts all these different processes and different ways of handling things. Whereas the way Remix is handling this stuff, it's like last week we talked about that idea of submitting a form that's uncontrolled, and then you get the form data, and then you process the form data, and how
Mm.
that's old school HTML, right? That's the way it used to work. And then we
Right.
went to all this front end JavaScript, and now we're going back to that. They lean on that too, because that's a web stand. That's what they mean by web standards. It's like the way
I see.
HTML is built to work. They are using and prioritizing the old school web standards, but now it's just within this new modernized framework. I find that to be a very interesting difference between the way Remix and Next kind of constructs all their stuff. So, yeah, how about we make a route?
Let's do that. They mentioned. That switch. Okay, never mind. They mentioned that if you click one of these, you'll get a 404 not found. Correct. And what happened to our styling? That's interesting. Okay, weird. And that is because we haven't built the route out yet. So, with that in mind, Remix route file convention will create session URL. It makes a segment dynamic, which is create a route that will match URLs that look like this. Okay. This being dynamic means just
When you navigate to that, route, then in the URL
contact ID
parameters,
is dynamic. Is that
yeah,
right?
contact ID will be the name of the element,
And
the
once we're
value brought in through the route parameter
and then this period will act as a
as
slash
a slash.
instead.
Yeah. So if you look up here under that in that box above, make dir app routes touch. This is stuff you need to do.
Oh,
So you're
interesting.
going to make the
Why do
routes
they
directory.
escape the dollar sign? Huh?
Yeah,
What
they
what is?
do. I don't have to do. I discovered in NeoVim when I'm creating files, I don't have to enter that escape. So the escape doesn't have to be there. They're escaping it because they created it through the terminal. If you create it
Oh,
like in VS Code, it can just be dot dollar sign.
oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
that escape there is
Well.
just for use inside the terminal.
Oh, so, but this is a terminal itself, no? Or does
Yeah,
it not
if
function the
I
same?
mean, so this is the distinction I mean. If you're about to like actually put those commands into the terminal, then that's
Yeah.
fine. If you were to go over to your file explorer on the left side of VS Code and like manually create that file, you don't need the slash.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
The
Okay.
slash is strictly inside the terminal, because inside terminals, if you use a dollar sign, it does something different.
Oh, I wonder what it does. I was just wondering what why it needs to be escaped. But either way, I'll go ahead and
In Windows
enter this.
PowerShell, the dollar sign, if I'm not mistaken, um, signifies a like a terminal or global variable within your PowerShell profile. So,
Okay.
so you can like you can do scripts inside of your terminal, and you'll use a dollar sign variable name to like bring a variable into use a variable in your terminal.
Excuse me.
Yeah, but that's what you want. Yep. So it'll be dot dollar sign. Yeah. So the file names are definitely more bizarre. Uh, they get
Right,
long
because this
and
is
with
the
these weird characters.
contacts route, and then we're also doing a specific ID extension of that route.
Right.
Okay.
The nice
Um,
thing about that, I will say, just thinking about it, is that you don't end up with just tabs and tabs and tabs of page.tsx, and you have no idea
which
which page
page.tsx
is
you're on?
right. It's very specific in the tab as to what
Yeah,
file
that
you're
is kind
looking
of
at.
annoying. I have to admit. Okay. And they're just going to feed this to us. We'll go ahead and copy paste for now, and we'll just talk through what's going on here. Okay, so I'm seeing that they have a standard form that we're importing several places.
Yeah.
Is that the case? Is there? I mean, I'm assuming one can style the form,
Can what the form? Sorry.
style it, like apply
Yeah,
their
yeah,
own styling.
absolutely. So that's just their form component. Um, I haven't looked into exactly what I mean, so their form component, a progressively enhanced HTML form that submits data to actions via fetch. Yeah, so that is their wrapper around the form. It's going to do a
Mm,
form. It's going to make a form and handle a form. But this is what they're kind of talking about further down in the tutorial, is that they have server actions and as well as loaders and whatnot. And the idea is that they're building things to match the pattern of the web standards, but then they're also acting as middlemen kind of in that process. So Remix is going to capture the signals that are sent around the project through these standard um, web wow, the words, through the web standards. They're going to kind of reach into that process and redirect it and use it within the Remix framework. But the process and pathing of everything is operating the same way the web standards does. That's a really bad explanation. I apologize. I'm still also
we'll
getting
forgive
my
you.
head around it too. But like server actions, right? So basically, the idea is that form is going a standard HTML form. If you do an on submit, it just sends a signal off to the server on its own, right? Completely
Right.
void of any additional JavaScript. So their form still does the same thing. It sends an action and it sends it off. It's just that their form is going to capture that sent action within Remix and then do something with it to allow the framework to like do what it does. But that pattern is the same. The form sends an action to the server. The Remix form sends an action. Remix just captures it and does something with it internally. If that
I
makes,
see.
yeah, hopefully that's making sense. But we'll find out more about it, and we can read
We
about
will
how I'm
find out
wrong.
more. Yeah, I was just looking through here too. So we're importing a couple types: contact record and function component. Function component seems like it's pretty self-explanatory to me, at least. What is this function? Contact. Oh, okay, so this is going to return like a contact card. It sounds like, or a contact like object.
Object. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. And then we have favorite, which is its own component, also returning a form. Okay. Oh, so this is our ability to favorite a contact, it looks
Yeah,
like.
that's an extra little component.
Okay. So I'm here accessing it. Did I miss anything? Let's see. What does it say here? Now, if we click one of the links, we get nothing new. Nice.
It's well written. It's pretty funny.
Since Remix is built on top of React Router, it supports nested routing. In order for child routes to render inside of parent layouts, we need to render an outlet in the parent. Let's fix it. Fix it. Okay, I'm down for that. So we'll add an outlet inside of our route.
So if you remember from View World, this would be like a slot
Yes, I
inside of
see.
a larger component. You're going to take this is where nested routes, like it's talking about, like child components on that route will render inside of this location in the broader page. So the
I
root
see.
kind of acts like a layout, and then we're going to um, put child routes in, or like React children, right?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, that does make sense.
But it's all based off of the
Hey,
routing, right? So it's not that we don't have to like put the components, we don't have to like take the parent component tags and then insert the child component within those tags. It's based entirely off of the routing, which is determined by the file names, which is different.
yes, that is a little different. As you can see, we have our kitties here. I've already clicked on a couple of the buttons and they don't work yet because we haven't told them
Yep.
to do anything, which
Yeah.
makes sense. If only this tutorial could handle even more for me. Okay, good. So client-side routing. May or may not have noticed, but when we click the links in the sidebar, the browser is doing a full document request for the next URL instead of client-side routing. Client-side routing allows our app to update the URL without requesting another document from the server. Instead, the app can immediately render new UI. Let's make it happen with link. So let me see. Do you understand what that means? I need to wrap my head around this real quick.
Yeah. So the routing currently is set up to be server routing. So when you click a link, it's sending a request out to the server and pulling in a whole
Oh,
page, which causes a flicker, right? Um, but by using the link component, you're going to say that you want the navigation to be handled by client-side routing. So then when you click that, it's going to run client-side and be more responsive. And
I
it doesn't have
see.
to do a page flicker. It can just update the UI state without having to reload the whole page.
I see. I see. Is this? Do you know? Is this an application of like React's server components versus client component thing?
I imagine it has to be, but I haven't seen anything yet about like use client, use server at all yet.
I see. Okay.
I think they've gone kind of a different direction, and it might just be more organized and set up for you. Like if you use the right component, it's just going to do it for you. It's kind of what I'm seeing here.
I see. Okay. Okay. Well, let's look inside of our nav. We need to now use two, I think.
Yep,
Oh, and they have to be link
and link.
components.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, this is where my lack of. I forget there's a way to change all of these at the same time. I'm just going to go change one by one.
You could do multi-cursor.
Multi-cursor? What is that?
Okay, yeah, type your last link here. Now, it's been a while, but I think if you hold Control and click um, at the end of each link word, I think is it Control? No,
Or
so
command,
Control and
maybe.
then just a single click,
Whoa.
or okay, maybe it's
Wrong.
is it Alt?
Oh,
Hold
maybe it's
Alt and
alt.
just click at the end of
Okay, hold on.
yeah.
So
Hold
highlight
Alt.
this.
No, don't highlight. Don't highlight. Just hold Alt and so now you have two cursors.
Right.
So
Oh, I see what you're saying. So it could be like, hold on. Let's do it like this.
yeah, at the end of each word, and then you can.
Oh man.
You could do four. You could do all four at the same time.
In concert?
Yes.
Oh, I love it. Look what I'm learning. Okay. Very good. You're a wizard, Harry. Let's see. Okay. So far so good.
So now when you did
Well, I
you
guess there's nothing else to render yet.
maybe
So,
yeah. I think it should shift, but you brought the link in the imports above, right?
I did. I did bring the
Okay.
link in the
Yep.
imports above.
Yep.
I guess the difference is hard to see right now, but they're saying if you open the network tab in browser DevTools to see, it's not requesting documents anymore. And I
Now
suppose we can go ahead and confirm that.
and that's how easy it is to just set up client-side routing. It just use the right component. So there's definitely some magic happening, right? They're handling a bunch of stuff for you through an opinionated system.
Oh gosh.
But I
Well,
think
that
it's
will make requests, but yeah, I see what you mean. Is it two? Let's see. All right. One time. Honestly, it's hard for me to read through this. I'm not so familiar with looking at their network situation.
that's all right. We can just keep going.
We'll continue on.
We'll believe that it works. Loading
I have no
data. This
reason
is
not
where
to.
it gets in. This is where it gets interesting.
So URL segments, layouts, and data are more often than not dribbled together. We can see it in this app already. We have our URL segment component is root. That makes sense. List of contacts. And then the component for this is contact. Talk to me about how I see this. Because of this natural coupling, Remix has data conventions to get data into your route components easily. There are two APIs we'll be using to load data, loader and use loader data. First, we'll create and export a loader function in the root route and then render the data. Export a loader function from app/root.tsx and render the data. Okay. following code has a type error in it. We'll fix it in the next section. Thank you for saying so. Sometimes it's not always that clear. Before I copy all this, I just want to see what's happening here. So we're importing JSON. That makes sense, or JSON. I'm not really sure how that's supposed to be pronounced.
I hear it both ways.
I do too. Use loader data. This is what they mentioned up here. One of the APIs we'll be using. We're going to import get contacts from the data, so that just something already set up in their
That's
data.
just part of the fake database. So that's just them pulling in
This
data.
is probably equivalent to like whatever kind of get fetch request you want to do.
Yep.
Okay, here's the actual loader.
So simple.
So if I'm understanding correctly, what happens is the loader actually makes the request. You get your contacts back, and then you parse it with JSON.
You can return JSON data there, and that loader is strictly server side.
The loader is strictly server side. Nice.
Yeah.
So we're utilizing the closeness of the server to the. Okay.
That will happen on the server. Pre-fill your HTML with the data, and then send you the HTML, or it will. That's the way the loader works. Is that it loads the data on the server and then sends it down all as one, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, and then
then this is your component.
We have to call use loader data to then
in the component.
Destructure the contacts from that. Okay, very cool.
Yep. So that's the link between the component to the loader, right? The loader is client side, and the component to a certain extent is server side, and the component.
This is client side.
Yes. So then that's the client side, and so then use loader data draws the connection to the loader of the same component file, right? Those two find each other or link up between client and server just by using this pattern right here. It's so simple.
And then this is the actual implementation of that data. Is what it looks like.
Yep, and that's just a slight improvement on what already exists there in the UL.
Okay. Existing imports.
It doesn't matter where you put it, but yeah.
No, it matters, Spencer. It matters to me.
Okay. I'll keep my comments to myself and just let you pick.
I guess it probably doesn't matter, though, to be honest. I'm with you on that. And then use loader data has to go in here. I can be so particular when I follow these tutorials by putting things in the same places. Although there might be strength in not doing that, because then you make mistakes and you're like, why did this not work? And then you figure something out.
It's possible too, yeah.
I don't know. We'll bring in our loader here. Yeah, I'm warming up already. I can definitely see the strength of what's being applied here. And then this goes inside the app. Cool. Contacts. Why is that?
Is that the type error?
Oh, there's a yes. It's type unknown.
Yeah.
So we won't worry about that. And then this goes right in the nav. So this actually replaces what's inside the nav, it looks like.
Yep.
Cool. Ooh. Okay. Nice.
It's a pretty standard JSX map. Bring it through, put the stuff in place.
The only thing I don't like is, why is everything... This is where, like, I'm sure I could just... I don't have a prettier set in this, do I? I mostly just don't like when things don't line up correctly. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is this, I think. There we go. I observed those 2 spaces, not 4. Okay, so we have the type error, so let's go ahead and fix that, as they said. That's it. Remix will now automatically keep the data in sync with your UI. The sidebar should now look like this. Is it going to look like that for us? Oh, yeah, it is going to look like that. Okay, well, first, I guess let's try to fix this contact situation. Type inference. Okay, so you may have noticed TypeScript complaining about the contact type inside of the map. We can add a quick annotation to get type inference about our data with type of loader. Oh yeah, okay. Used this before. Use loader data, type of loader. Gotcha. Oh, all is right with the world again. It's type of is a very useful keyword that I feel like doesn't get used enough. Um, because like there are times where it's just not clear what the type is that's
Mm,
supposed to be applied. I On the project we've talked about a little bit with where I built the metronome. One thing I had to use was one of the properties in the metronome class is it's a set interval call, um, and it was getting a little goofy because what it's supposed to return, I believe, is a number, but that's not exactly how set interval works. And so when I was typing it in your class, you have to type everything. Uh, I ended up using type of return from set interval, and that solved everything.
hmm.
Because ultimately, I'm not doing anything super novel with it. So being able to like call the type of whatever should be in here is very useful. You avoid having to like explicitly predict every kind of output that you're going to have, basically.
I've never seen type of used in this way before.
Mm, mm.
I kind of looked at this sideways, like what?
Yeah,
I still
we
don't
used
fully
it in that
understand what's happening here, actually. But
in
so
one of the first upskill and chills. We use type of key of, right, or key of type of
yeah, key
for that.
of state, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, so basically, if I'm understanding correctly, our loader is going to have a type, right? Uh,
Yep.
Promise of typed response with contacts, which is a contact record array
Mm-hmm.
as a
As a
key
return
value
value.
pair. Yeah, exactly. And so what we're doing is just saying instead of having to write all of that out again, and I'm curious if let me just try this. Let's just see if this actually
Oh, and
works.
loader isn't a state here. I mean, sorry, loader isn't a type. You're
So what?
saying we want
Yeah,
the type in here to be the type of loader. Just match
yeah.
that. Okay.
I don't have these types accessible here, probably because they're part of the remix, node
Okay. I
modules and
get
such.
you. I get you
But
now.
yeah, that's the idea. I think is that we're basically putting that in there.
Just copy that type from there and put it here.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That'll be added here. Yeah. Okay. That's very cool. Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty
Type
nice.
of and then like a function name instead of having to like type the function and then use that type elsewhere. If that's somehow more like in this case, it's more expedient to do that instead of create a new type and then okay. Okay. Interesting.
And it's still correct, right? Because that is what we're going to get here. We're
Yeah.
not going to be. I mean, we're not going to pull anything out of here that's not from the loader. I mean, this is.
Yeah.
Is this is this a hook? Must be, huh?
Yep. It looks like
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Interesting. We've gone this far away. I haven't seen one use state or use effect call. I'm happy.
I'm halfway through and I haven't seen a single one either.
Nice. It's like they must have. So they're just building custom hooks, right, for
Custom
their
hooks.
remix
Yeah, and then I think they've
library.
developed a pattern with their system with like the loaders and different and actions and things that um the state and the conditionals for like the use effect and stuff like that are just kind of handled within their pattern. So you don't have to manually handle all of those things. They've kind of predicted the pattern that will be most efficient and then like just run this pattern and you'll be fine type of thing.
I see.
Is what I'm getting so far. There's a lot more to learn, obviously, but it's very interesting. It actually leads me to think to being curious once we get further in and we start doing some things that are a little more custom or a little bit more intricate. Um, how we would properly bring in under what conditions is it advisable or best practice to actually bring in use state or use effect for your own use? Or have they just
Right.
like handled that to the point where you don't even need to really touch that stuff anymore? I don't know. It's interesting.
And so what they're saying basically is, so they've loaded all of these contacts into our little contact bar. And so I think what it was saying is if I click it, you can see that the URL is changing. We're
Yep.
going to those contacts. So
Yep.
nothing here is changing, but
Right.
maybe it's
We'll
not
we'll
supposed
get
to
there.
yet. Okay. Contact ID part of the file name. These dynamic segments will match dynamic changing values in that position of the URL. Okay. We call these values in the URL params, or just params for short. That makes sense. Params are passed to the loader with keys that match the dynamic segment. For example, our segment is named $contact ID, so the value will be passed as params.contact ID. These params are most often used to find a record by ID. Let's try it out. Okay, so we're going to add a loader function to the contact page and access data with used loader data. Interesting. Okay, so now let's navigate over here. And what do we have to bring in? So we'll bring this and use loader data. I'll just enter that in. Cool. Oh yeah, we're gonna have to get our contacts. As far as you are, have you seen? Do they set up absolute imports or anything like that by default?
I haven't seen any absolute imports yet. No.
There must be a way to configure that, though. I'm sure that's
Probably.
not the
Probably.
hardest thing. Yeah. We'll do it here.
I haven't really seen, other than like the remix components. We've created these route files with that have components in them, but we haven't really created any components and then brought in a component to use within another component, if that makes sense. So
Right.
haven't really
Right.
seen that pattern yet. I assume it's the same.
Okay, did I do this right? Why don't we like params? Uh, implicitly as any type. Oh yeah, there's type errors. Okay, got it.
Do
Okay,
you have the type of loader thing going on?
I do. I do have type
Okay,
of
well, yeah,
loader.
there you go. It works.
Right here.
Yep.
Okay. But I can't handle all the red lines, so let's fix this type error. Now what's the problem?
Yeah, here you go.
TypeScript is very upset with us. Let's make it happy and see what the force is. Wait, what
That,
that
that
forces us to
the
consider.
beginning of that sentence made me think of you when I was reading through this.
Yeah, that is
Because you're
exactly
always
how I talk
talking
about
about making
TypeScript.
TypeScript happy.
TypeScript is like I don't either a child or a spouse or whatever. I don't know. Choose your like
Your
familiar relation,
analogy. Yeah.
parent maybe. But okay,
TypeScript is disappointed in us.
TypeScript is so disappointed. You did not type correctly.
I'm not
That's
angry. I'm
great.
just disappointed.
Oh man, it cuts me even hearing you say that. Okay. Import type, loader function args. Okay, we'll do that. I'm starting to like this. Side note, at least, this idea that like you import your types separately from importing um, like actual components or functions or whatever.
Mm,
Because like, I mean, I guess this is coming from a different place, but like in React, you can import things like change event or You know, there's like different types that could be brought in, and you could just import them right here, you know, alongside use
yeah.
state or use effect or whatever. But I feel like it's useful to be able to differentiate, like, what am I importing that's a type and what is
Mm,
actually something I'm utilizing as a function or a component or what have
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, enough of that. Invariant, this is what you were talking about.
Yeah. It's a fun little thing. I'm probably gonna have to use this from now on.
And then what's changing here? So, oh, we're gonna, the loader is already async. Oh,
We're
I see that
typing
it does this.
the params object with the loader function args.
I see. function args. Very cool. And then we're calling this. Wait, where did we call that?
At the top,
Nice.
first line. Yep.
Right. Yeah.
And there's your type error gone. Right. So if you
not.
if you comment out invariant, sorry, at least from the
Oh, I have to.
contact ID. Right. Comment out the invariant line.
Oh, okay. Right. Oh, this one you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah, that one.
Well, it gets rid of that, but maybe there's other places. So what is going on here? First problem this highlights is we might have gotten the param's name wrong between the file name and the code. Maybe you changed the name of the file. Oh, okay. Missing contact param. Invariant is a handy function for throwing an error with a custom message when you anticipated a potential issue with your code. It's almost like getting into testing a little bit. Okay, next, the use loader data type of loader now knows that we got a contact or null. Maybe there is no contact with that ID. This potential null is cumbersome for our component code, and the TS errors are flying around still. We could account for the possibility of the contact being not found in component code, but the webby thing to do is send a proper 404. We can do that in the loader and solve all of our problems at once. Okay. Oh, nice. Okay, I see. Oh, yeah, there we go. No more disappointment.
Yeah.
So if there's no contact found, we'll throw response not found, give it the status 404.
So
I was almost going to remark, oh, it's not next response, but obviously not.
Yeah, but I hadn't seen throw new response before. I've seen throw new error. I've always ever seen like throwing errors, but because loader is server side, then we can throw a response which is going to send back a 404 status, right?
Yes.
It's a really easy way to like error handle from the server side.
You know, I'm not even entirely sure I know specifically what's happening when one throws. Like, what does throw do? I understand I know what a response is in this context, and we're basically creating a new response object and sending that.
My first thought is that you catch one, like you throw, and then you catch in a catch block.
That might be.
I don't know exactly what throw does exactly. So the throw statement throws a user-defined exception. Execution of the current function will stop. The statement after throw won't be executed, and control will be passed to the first catch block in the call stack. If no catch block exists among call functions, the program will terminate.
Oh, okay. That's useful. Huh. Yeah, because I've definitely seen throw new error many times. But
Yes.
Throw new response, that's a different one. And I wonder what the logic for that is. Like, why would we want to throw a response instead of an error? I guess the response allows us to send the status code and whatever our message is.
Yeah, because we are, the loader is responding to the front end, right? So you're sending a response back. If it was entirely if you were like on the client side and gonna handle on the client side, then probably doing an error would work. The same thing on like if everything is just within the server, then you can throw an error on the server and handle it on the server. But here we're responding because loader is server side, and we're throwing a response back to the client. That's my guess.
Okay.
A lot of hypothesizing on my part,
but I like it all the same. That's not Michael Jackson. Well, that might be Michael Jackson. That's a common
name. You're not real. That's not Michael Jackson.
Try again.
There can be only one Highlander.
This is right.
But I love this loader pattern. How simple that is. Like you can just you handle all of your your server side stuff right there, and then you get the params passed in through props. Super simple. It's all in the same component, so it's nice and like your code is organized, right? And then you pull in use loader data in the component, and away you go.
That's super convenient.
You don't have
Honestly, I'm.
to save. You don't have to like manually do like setting states and stuff. Like use effect, make a call,
Mm,
fetch, set that return data to a state, then use that state.
it just does.
Um,
It does all
it
of that
it takes
for you.
care of that pattern
Yeah.
and makes it really easy.
Yeah. I mean, that is so far. I've really enjoyed just a little bit of that experience. I'm curious about jumping in and building something ourselves, just because I want to see like how this compares to what we've done so far.
Yeah,
Because like even within our next app, we've tried kind of two different approaches to this. We've we've done a sort of classic like client side approach, where we're fetching from what was it, use effect, I suppose,
hmm
for our default data. And then we've also tried the server side approach where we're using server actions, and this is pretty sleek in terms of developer experience, I will say.
yeah. The other big thing uh, that I'm not at all qualified to really talk through um, that is important here is that some element of this, I don't remember all the details, uh, but the th- um, the calls to the database and loading data and loading component and loading the view and everything is happening simultaneously, not waterfalling. That's something that they've mentioned in their docs a few times. And then I have a video over here. I think he describes it in here. I watched this. This is the guy who's actually writing this tutorial
Hmm.
is doing this little video thing. They have a YouTube playlist of a bunch of like little one-off um, video explanations, and this is talking about loaders because I was curious about what's happening with the loader. And there's an element here where things are loading simultaneously as opposed to waterfalling, right? So that was remember that video I sent you from
Hmm.
what's I can't remember his name now. The T3 guy. I don't remember his name at the moment. And he was talking about remix versus uh, React and how if or no, it was the different paradigms for pulling down data. And the old way of doing it with the use effect thing is that like your parent loads and then you use the use effect and then you have to load the data and then the data triggers the component to load and then that component maybe makes a fetch and then that fetch happens and it's all subsequent, right? Everything it loads fetches and nothing and it all happens back to back instead of overlapping, right? So it takes longer to get to the end result. Um, Whereas here and in that other pattern he was talking about that they're trying to get React and Next to work with as well, where UI and data will load simultaneously, so that everything's just that much faster, smoother. Again, I don't have the technical talk to like really break that down at the
We'll
moment,
get there. We're
but
we're just starting.
it's cool.
Okay, and now if the user isn't found, code execution down this path stops and Remix renders the error path instead. Components in Remix can focus only on the happy path. Oh, we like that. Okay, let's try this. 404. There it is. Should I have gotten a message somewhere? Oh, I guess that's probably. Um, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yep, it's in the server.
Not found. Status 404. There it is. Okay. Very cool. I'm just curious if I'd put status text. Clearly didn't work. Oh, jeez. Of course. When using single quotes finally comes to get me. Okay, very cool. Nice, nice, nice. I'm going to leave that off though. Okay, so we've set up our error throwing for when people try to navigate to something. Post in here too. Oh, status text will post up here. That's
At least
interesting.
they have it set up to do that, at least by default, it looks like.
Let me see.
I don't know where their 404.
Oh, where that page is coming
I
from?
don't know
Yeah.
where that component is. Yeah, within their system,
Maybe it's just set up just to do that. You know what I mean?
it might.
Hmm. Okay. Well, moving on from there, data mutations. We'll create our first contact in a second, but first let's talk about HTML. So Remix emulates HTML form navigation as the data mutation primitive, which used to be the only way prior to the JavaScript Cambrian explosion. Don't be fooled by the simplicity. Forms and Remix. I'm a bit of like a dinosaur junkie as well, and
Oh,
I've,
nice.
I've like loved looking into these things, and this
Yeah.
teases my nerd brain, of
What
course.
a great way to slip in the Cambrian explosion. You don't get to
Which is
use
a
that
time in
very
history
often.
when life propagated and diversified more than any other time in our planet's history. But
Right.
I digress. Don't be fooled by the simplicity. Forms and Remix give you the UX capabilities of client rendered apps with the simplicity of the old school web model. While unfamiliar to some web developers, HTML forms actually cause a navigation in the browser just by clicking a link. Right. The only difference is in the request, links can only change the URL, while forms can also change the request method, get versus post, and the request body, the post form data. Okay, that makes sense. Without client-side routing, the browser will serialize the forms data automatically and send it to the server as the request body for post, and as URL search params for get. Uh-huh. Remix does the same thing, except instead of sending the request to the server, it uses client-side routing and sends it to the route's action function. Oh, okay. So we're looking at server actions here.
Yeah.
Very
So
cool.
that's what I was talking about, where it's using the same paradigm that's set up by the web standard for form, the way form normally works, but then they're intercepting it and sending it to the action so that you can continue working with it in the file.
Mm-hmm. We can test it out by clicking the new button in our app. Oh, okay. Let's just restart you. There we go. Yep. Error root does not have an action, but you are trying to submit it. Okay. To fix this, please add an action function to the route. Add no action defined error. Okay, that totally makes sense to me. I'm gonna try to get this done, and then maybe we'll stop there. We'll pause for this week.
Yeah, this would be a good
Uh,
one to do.
Creating context. So we're going back to our root. Okay, so import these from data. There we go. Okay, so we're going to create an action. I see. Okay, that's it. Go ahead and click the new button. So what do we just do here? So we're importing create empty contact and get contacts from data. Very cool. So this action, when clicked on, will create a contact, which is awaited from create empty contact. What does this do?
That's part of the fake database. It just creates an empty contact item.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yep.
And then it returns that contact. Okay. Seems pretty clear. The create empty contact method just creates an empty contact with no name or data or anything, but it does still create a record. Promise.
You should try
What
it
is
in
it?
the app real quick.
No name. Undefined avatar.
But that was the action, right, from the form. There you go.
That was the action. In fact, let's just network. Looks like it was this. What is the payload? Okay. Huh, funny. It's got the tokens from my other project in here. Makes sense. Cookies are still in the browser. Okay. Oops. Keep meaning to go back to here. How did the sidebar update? Where did we call the action function? Where's the code to refetch the data? Where are use state, on submit, and use effect? This is kind of what you were talking about.
Yeah.
This is where the old school web programming model shows up. Form prevents the browser from sending the request to the server and sends it to your route's action function instead with fetch. In web semantics, a post usually means some data is changing. By convention, Remix uses this as a hint to automatically revalidate the data on the page after the action finishes. Okay. So, otherwise, it sounds like that data is cached potentially. By convention, Remix uses this as a hint. So when we're sending a post request, it's going to revalidate the data on the page. So it's going to reload whatever our list of people is, which is why this updated to no name right away. Very cool.
No need to pull in our own or the revalidate route
Tag,
data.
revalidate path, or whatever. Yeah.
That function from next server or from the server functions, server components, whatever it's called.
In fact, since it's all just HTML and HTTP, you could disable JavaScript and the whole thing will still work. Instead of Remix serializing the form and making a fetch request to your server, the browser will serialize the form and make a document request. From there, Remix will render the page server side and send it down. It's the same UI in the end either way. Okay.
I think
We'll
that's
keep
pretty
JavaScript.
wild that you turn
Yeah,
off JavaScript in the browser and it still works.
it still would work. Yeah, that is wild. Huh. We'll keep JavaScript around though because we're going to make a better user experience than spinning favicons and static documents. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I have to admit, I'm quite taken with Remix at this point. I mean, it remains to be seen what it would be like to actually build with it. I'm sure we'd come to resent it in its own ways soon enough. But
That's the appropriate relationship with all JS frameworks.
totally. But yeah, that's pretty impressive. I mean, styling aside, we've been able to put this together with relatively little code. I guess they already had their database in there. So that's my question. When we were reading uh, to all of you, I talked to Spencer about like building a separate Express server because if we were going to try to build our platform with different frameworks, potentially we wouldn't have any kind of backend capability with some of them. Although it looks like by documentation, Remix has full stack capabilities, and that's something I'm very interested in exploring from this point on. You can already see that they're utilizing server actions, and the loader itself is sort of whether or not that's actually what's happening in the background. It's like the same idea. It's like you're grabbing your data sort of server side and then supplying it client side is what it
Yep.
looks like to me.
Yeah. At another point in the documentation, they had an example of using the Prisma ORM, and they just made the Prisma ORM call in the loader.
Oh, interesting.
That just goes right there. That's all server side. They said they went so far as to say that it's because that's server side, it's safe to use environment variables, like secret environment variables in the loader functions. But they said like whatever you return from the loader function becomes publicly available, even if you don't like display it or use it, that you can get it on that request coming out of the loader. So they said be careful what you return from the loader, but you can use like API keys and secrets and stuff in the loader because that's strictly server side.
I see. I like that. Yeah, maybe when we start to build this, like for real, we should like spin up a Supabase Postgres database and like try to integrate that since we've already seen what Prisma is like.
Sure, Supabase has been on my list for a while of things that would be cool to check out. So if we're gonna switch things up from like Prisma next, go Supabase Remix. Why not?
Yeah, I feel like it's made to play well with these full stack frameworks that are sort of like front end focused. These like React frameworks. Like it plays well with Next for sure. I'm sure Remix it's the same. I mean, you'd essentially where did I put it? You'd essentially be calling whether it was Prisma or Supabase, you'd be calling it right here. It looks like,
Yep.
or we build our own library of those commands. But yeah,
Yeah,
of
yeah,
those
yeah.
functions. But very cool. This is cool. I'm looking forward to continuing this as we delve further and further in.
Me too.
I'm like I was like a little worried just because we put so much energy into it to Next, but it's probably good to keep learning and keep building in new things. And it's like you want to keep that balance of somewhat mastering one thing or two things, but also still trying new things because you never know what's going to like be a
Mhm.
better experience for building. Building matters.
Yeah.
We spend all our time
The
doing it.
Yeah, the comparison that I heard that I'm still keeping very much in mind. I listened to one guy's kind of A and B test between like using Remix, using Next, and his opinions. And a big point in there is the ecosystem around the framework. And Next
Mm,
is bigger, it's more popular, it's been around longer. So the amount of tutorials, help articles, um, and just library and packages, right? I mean, you have so this is something else that we're gonna have to look up. Is in our other super secret startup project, we're using Nextauth and we're using like WAGMI hooks and a whole bunch of like specific blockchain Web3 libraries that all work seamlessly with React and Next because they're built to do that. I'm curious. I haven't done it yet to go out and look at is anything like that even available on outside in the Remix ecosystem? Is there a Remix off equivalent?
mm.
I know with WAGMI hooks, you can instead of going straight for WAGMI hooks, which are all built on React hooks. Uh, well, I mean, I can't believe I didn't realize that until just now. We can still use React hooks instead of Remix. So maybe that's not a problem after all. But although they do have some things that are like Next specific, so I'll have to see
Yeah,
what the integration there looks like because I know you can do like what's called WAGMI Core. They also have that as a package, so it's like the core. It's WAGMI functionality, but it's not wrapped in. I think in the React like hook structure, so that you can use it in like Vue, for example. Um,
oh, I see.
but that wouldn't be a problem here because it's still React. It's just a
It
different
is to React.
framework around React. So maybe those things would still port over one to one potentially. I don't know. It'd be interesting. Should build
We'll
a
have to
little
test
like
it.
simple blockchain application inside of Remix just to give a few of the like connect a wallet, check a balance, make a
Mm,
call to
mm.
the blockchain, like something super simple like that, just to see what the experience is there. Um, I don't know. I'm giddy about Remix at the moment. Again, I said at the top, I don't know if it's just because it's something new and interesting, but there's really a part of me that wants to like we're going to be rebuilding our super secret startup thing anyways, because we built a POC and it's super messy and we've learned a bunch that we want to improve on in a new version. So it's kind of like this would be the opportunity to just like use Remix, and that might be really fun. But that also leads to there's potential downside to just jumping on a framework that's less supported. So I don't know.
These are things that we will have to tackle. We'll have to grapple with. Actually, is what I meant.
And then we'll tackle them.
Then we'll tackle. Yeah, exactly. Once you've grappled with something, you are then free to tackle
One cannot tackle until one grapples.
it. That's funny.
On that note,
Yes. On that
uh,
that moral of the story.
yeah,
Thanks to anyone that watched any of this. Thanks for rocking with us. Hope you have a good weekend.
yeah. See everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week for more remix next week. I think we just keep going. Maybe we do some of this extra stuff off screen. Maybe next week we'll see. But maybe by next week we can get to the point of actually building something ourselves a little bit. We'll see.
I would be proud to stumble through that with you.
That'd be super fun. All right. Well,
Cool.
we'll look forward to that. Thanks everybody. We'll see you next time.
Later, everyone. Have a good weekend.
All right. LinkedIn
Yeah, this
Live.
is cool, man. I'm a
I'm
little
gonna
excited about it too.
I'm gonna end this live